Just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, and I am here with my co-host, the fabulous Patricia Kirkman, PK, in 75-degree Tucson. How you doing, PK?
Oh, just melting. It's beautiful.
Oh, must
Feel
be
so
nice.
spoiled. Feel so spoiled.
Gosh, it's beautiful. How lucky you are. We're waiting for a snowstorm to come in.
Well, you'll get your snowstorm, and then we're going to get a change in the weather. We're going to get rain, and it's going to get cold and drop again. But for right now, it feels fabulous.
I bet. We'll send some of those warm vibes over, even though we were at 50 today, so I can't complain.
See?
Yeah, and we're not going to get all the snow that Boston and New York are getting. They're getting it. It's a southern storm, so yay.
They can pass that on.
They can. Well, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We have a terrific guest. This is a man I've wanted to talk to for many years, Joshua Shapiro. He is a crystal skull expert. So I can't wait to get him on. We've been reading a lot of his material throughout the week, you and I, PK, and it's fascinating, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe some of the things that he's written about. It is way more than I ever thought existed.
Yes.
It's going to be great listening to him tonight.
I know. I have a lot of questions. There's a lot going on with these crystal skulls, so we're going to find out. We're going to get to the bottom of everything. The truth is right here on our show, Supernatural Girls. So first of all, though, we got to find out about the numbers. We had kind of a nice week, didn't we?
Well, it's been rather pleasant, and today has been a really nice day. It's more about people being sensitive, and they're trying to build a stronger foundation. Lots of teamwork going on, and people want to create good partnerships and work routines. So that part's been very good for today, because if they become overly sensitive, that part can mar what else is going on. But it's been good. Tomorrow, oh boy, what a super day. The month and the day are identical, so it's all about luck in the air. And boy, we could certainly use that one.
Yes.
You get to put your ideas into action, and you can start looking into sharing some of the social things that you want to do, get together with friends, whatever. But test those creative juices and stretch your imagination. You're going to be pleased with the end result if you do that, because the good ideas that are all about making changes, in fact, good idea of changing your wardrobe. Take a look at something that you wouldn't have thought to wear before. Good response of thrilling yourself with new ideas. Why not? You deserve it.
Why not? All right. That sounds exciting. Sounds like a fab day.
It is. It's going to be wonderful, especially if you get together with friends and get out and about. Wow.
Good. Well, we won't be getting out and about.
Well, okay. You can think about it.
We will make phone calls. How's that?
Skype your friends. That's it. We can Skype. We'll talk that way.
We will do that.
You can see what we're wearing.
It's a fun way to meet up, I tell you.
Sure.
Well, this is great. Well, we do have some interesting paranormal news that's going to lead us back to the numbers. So let's go there, because there is an interesting article which is on our Facebook page. So everybody go to our Facebook page, give us a like, follow us on Twitter if you don't mind, because I'll tell you what, you're going to hear great stuff. Great stuff you're going to see on our Facebook page. You're going to get great tweets from Alyssa. She's back every week. She's tweeting away. So you don't want to miss any of this excitement. She's sending out a new paranormal story almost every single day. So make sure you're following us on Twitter and on Facebook. And what you're going to see on Facebook is an article with graphs. How about that? About Schumann resonance, where for the first time in recorded history, Schumann resonance is jumping to 36 plus. Now, just to give a frame of reference here, this is the first time in recorded history that it's reached this frequency. And it's a big deal, because in 2014, It was considered anomalous for the frequency to have risen from its usual 7.83 to somewhere in the 15 to 25 levels. So now it's 36 plus. That's like beyond what anybody could even imagine was going to happen. So you've been looking at the numbers of this. Now, they say we're waking up. This is a sign that the Earth is changing. We're waking up along with the Earth. What do you say is happening?
Well, I think the amazing part is what took place to begin with back in 2014 when it was 7.83, it's at 18.9. And 9 is about universal, making things for the masses, opening things, opening doors, enlightenment. It goes along with the theater, drama, whatever. And here we are again, 36 point. Gee, that's again, it's a 9. Isn't it amazing? Everything is ending old issues, making way for the new to take place. So there's something about ready to pop.
Yeah, this is big. This is very big.
It's amazing to see how these changes are taking place, but it's also, when you think about theater, drama works off of the 9. What we do for humanity at large works off of the 9. Getting information out there to help and make it better for everyone else. Again, those are 9s. So look at how all this is turning back into the 9 stuff.
Yeah, and also we were talking about how this is opening the door on higher entities coming in and making contact directly with us, rather than, for example, ETs going to have a little chat with our government or turning over technology. They're going to start coming to us with this frequency.
Well, they have been doing that for some time. We just haven't put it all together yet. And I think we're going to be amazed at some of the items that are going to be popping out over these next few months. Because this, remember, is a universal 1 year. So it's all about new beginnings and getting out there and being first to know what's happening. And being a 1 year, we don't want to be pushed into the closet and have to take second best anymore. So if they're going to these offbeat places that, we'll say governmental parts that don't want to let us know what's happening, I think they're going to have to forget about that because they're going to come directly to us.
Yay, that is great news. So this is terrific, 36 plus. So if you guys want to see the charts, go to our Facebook page and read up more on what is happening with the Schumann resonance. Again, that's at Supernatural Girlz. And also go to our website, supernaturalgirls.com, and make sure you sign up for our newsletter, The Fringe Files, so you don't miss anything. We've got some great books there that are for sale at Amazon. And we also have a wonderful guy who knows everything about medical marijuana at thehighend.org. There is also creativestrength.us, which is offering a free scalar treatment for 15 days. You get a totally free treatment, which I highly recommend you try. All you have to do is go to our webpage, supernaturalgirls.com, click on that link, and then you just send in a photograph and you're off and running for 15 days. That's how simple it is. So highly recommend it. Scalar energy, it is really powerful. So anyhow, well, oh my God, but we got a lot to talk about. We got to dig into this stuff, right?
Definitely.
Oh, I've got something I want to know. What about you?
Definitely want to know. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I want to be first for a change.
Okay. All right. Well, our guest tonight, Joshua Shapiro, has been involved with the crystal skulls since 1983, when he saw one made out of amethyst in Northern California. He felt such a strong connection with this artifact that since that time, he has devoted his life and resources to sharing the best information he can about these crystalline artifacts with other people all over the world, and the future role they will play to help our planet to see world peace. He has had an opportunity to privately visit with a number of the well-known crystal skulls in the world, including the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull, E.T., the British Museum crystal skull, Synergy, and Ami. I'm going to say it, Ami. Hopefully that's correct pronunciation, among others. So let's get him on the show. Joshua, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Patricia and PK. A pleasure to be here.
Oh, we're excited.
Yeah. Well, we now know how you got started on this path. And you have had lots of different experiences, just a wealth of them. So I'm going to ask you, what is the most powerful crystal skull you've encountered so far?
I knew that question was coming.
Second too. Okay.
Well, although my life partner's name is Katrina, we have a collection of 30 crystal skulls, and I feel like a proud papa. We call them the Crystal Kids. But I would have to say, not to be biased towards them, because when we go out into the world and do our events and we do our sessions, they do a great job of activating people and helping people. But the crystal skull that I've had the most amazing, the most powerful, the most unbelievable experience with has been the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull. And one of the things that happened recently, because I'm friends with Bill Holman, who's the guardian, is we worked together last summer here in the Seattle area where we live, and he was here for about 10 days. And we went all throughout Washington sharing this crystal skull. And, you know, we heard from people afterwards, and a lot of them were having an amazing experience. Now, I don't want any of the other crystal skulls in the world or the guardians to feel slighted, because after being involved in this, I guess this will be, 83, and we're in 17, so 34 years now. Every single crystal skull that exists on the world, whether it's one that's very, very old, found near ancient ruins, or possibly brought here by extraterrestrials, which could be a controversial idea, or it's being made by modern carvers. Each one has a role to play. Each one is important. And but I think just like what happens to us with music, you know, if we compared our favorite songs, we would see that we might have some which are the same, some which are different. This is based on the unique vibrational frequencies which we are as divine souls from Creator. It's the same with crystal skulls, where I may have had a very powerful experience with this one. Maybe some other people might feel differently towards another one. However, during this 10-day period where we had like 7 days of events going on, we watched this crystal skull literally transform many people. So I would have to say that's the one I've had the most powerful experience with. Now, is your next question going to be, what were those experiences, perhaps?
Oh, you're right on target.
We can definitely go there. Yes. What were the experiences? And also to talk a little bit about how this skull transforms people too. We want to know all these things. Right. Go ahead.
All right. Well, the most powerful experience I ever had, although while it was here, it did some strange things to me. I thought because my gift is I work with energy. And what I find is when I work with different crystal skulls, they seem to integrate with me so that I can communicate and touch them, let's say spiritually, you know, even if they're not around me. So I thought I had pretty well integrated with the energy of the Mitchell Hedges skull, but there were still moments where strange things happened. So I'm going to do kind of like storytelling now with very fast, you know, little bleeps. I'm going to focus on what happened recently, but then I'm going to go back to the time when the Indiana Jones film came out, the last one, where there was 13 crystal skulls actually in the movie, although it focused on one, and I had a chance to see that crystal skull. That was my most powerful. So I'll warm you up with some of the interesting things that happened most recently. So when it was here last year, I was taking people into the room where the sessions were, and I didn't really, you know, have a session. I was like standing outside of the room, and, you know, I thought, you know, I'm just in there for like 10 or 15 seconds. Hey, Bill, here's the next person that you got, etc. And all of a sudden, what I noticed as it's getting later in the day is I'm like passing out. I'm overcome by the energy around the skull. Now, I'm an Aries, and I dare anything to overcome me energy-wise. And this crystal skull did it. I actually had to have a healing from one of our friends who was linked to that center. So that was pretty interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Okay.
Whew.
So then the next thing that happens is we're in another city here, And I brought our crystal skull, which is called Portal de Luz, which is Portal of Light in English. It's a 10-pound smoky quartz skull created by the famous carver Leandro from Brazil. This was the first crystal skull that found me. It was gifted to me by an ex-wife. And I would say it's an extension of me. A lot of my personality seems to come through that crystal skull. So Portal, his name for short, said, "Dad, you need to take me to this session going on with the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull today." And I said, "All right, I will." So what happened is Mr. Holman allowed people to put their smaller crystals or crystal skulls actually around the skull on the table he brought, which was very tiny, but because Portal de Luz was quite a large skull, he had to go on a separate table, which he was sitting by himself. So what happened is I was helping Mr. Holman show his slides, but I was kind of like in the middle of a triangle. On my right side was the Mitchell Hedges skull. On the left side was Portal de Luz, and I was at, like that point where the triangle, two lines of the triangle meet. And what happened is Portal said to me, "Now that I'm sitting here, whenever you want to communicate with the Mitchell Hedges skull, all you have to do is focus on that through me, and we're in direct contact." And that's kind of what was happening to me.
My.
So what Portal de Luz was showing, which of course I've seen this many times before, is that the crystal skulls themselves, now this is a very profound concept, which I have no way to prove, but if you talk to other guardians, they'll probably say, "Yeah, Joshua's absolutely correct." The crystal skulls contain within themselves a living consciousness. Now, what this living consciousness is exactly is, I'm speculating. Is it spiritual beings in other dimension? Is it extraterrestrial beings? I don't know. But the skulls respond as if it's a person that you're having a conversation with. And it's like, I have all of our crystal kids behind me as I'm sitting in front of the computer, and they're all speaking, and I can't understand a damn thing they're saying because there are too many voices going on. They each have some point that they want to speak through. But anyway, they are alive. They are a living consciousness. And many people who have skulls, not just Katrina and I, but other ones, they'll start having these conversations with them, which is why I like to have Portal de Luz close to me when I'm writing, because somehow his energy or whoever's communicating through him give me all kinds of ideas when I'm writing. So it's not like some writers where, they write a little bit and then they pause, what am I doing next? No, for me, it's like one continuous flow of information coming through, and I can't worry about my editing and my spelling. I just got to let all those things come through so I can go back and fix it. So those were two interesting things that happened to me personally while it was here. Now, the pièce de résistance experience, the most powerful that I've ever had with any crystal skull, takes place in Mr. Holman's home, which is in Indiana. I was allowed to go there. What was happening is the Sci-Fi Channel had invited me and him to be interviewed for this special on the crystal skulls, 2 hours, which of course I didn't show up, but he showed up quite a bit. And this was prior to the Indiana Jones film coming out in, I believe it was 2009. So what happened is first I got to do about a 25-minute interview with him, which at different lectures I show. It's very interesting. He turns the skull around and he let the people with the video so you could see what a magnificent piece of quartz crystal this is. And then he allowed me to have a session with the skull afterwards. So this is what happened to me. Now, you both better sit down because this was pretty amazing.
Okay.
Are you sitting down?
We're fastening our seatbelts. Go ahead.
Definitely.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. So pretend you're like me. This is the setup. You're in his living room with this table he inherited from Anna Mitchell Hedges, who passed away sometime in 2000 or 2001 at the age of 100. And that's how he became the guardian of the skull. She was living with him. He was helping to take care of her. They were the best of friends. And so he had this table from her, which I don't know if it was I think I heard something about it came from France during one of the Louis Kings or whatever. I'm not sure. But anyway, he had the Mitchell had to skull on this low table. So I had to literally, be in a meditative pose on the ground. He put it on the table on a lazy Susan. I was not allowed to touch the skull, although I did give it a kiss on the top, which he didn't see. And I could turn it.
Sneaky little devil.
Yeah. Well, I love this skull. This is a very healing skull. So what I did is I had 3 personal skulls with me. I had just come from Holland, and now I was in Chicago, and that's why I was able to be interviewed for this and have this session. So Portal de Luz, face-to-face with the Mitchell Hedges skull, so that means it was on its side to me. And then the other 2 skulls, another small smoky quartz skull, Geronimo Golden Eagle-Eye, which is our indigenous skull, and then a small rose quartz skull, which Katrina will kick me because I always forget her name. These 2 skulls formed a triangle around the Mitchell Hedges skull. Then for me, the most powerful meditations that I've ever done has been when I'm listening to the right music, because I am a musician. I actually have a song on YouTube called the Crystal Skull Theme Song, which several people have complimented me on, and I know when I play it that spirit takes me over with this song. But anyway, because I'm geared to music, I had my MP3 player with me, and being the Aries I am, I'm flipping through song based upon what felt correct to be listening to at the precise moment. So the first part of the meditation, I would say, if I ever had an experience to know what heaven might be like, it was during that meditation. Everything was calm and peaceful. I wasn't concerned about any issues in my life, what was going on, what might be happening to me. I was happy to sit there and stay there forever, which is not what is common to an Aries. An Aries will say, sure, meditation, 10, 15 minutes, that's enough. What else is exciting to do?
What's next?
Right. But that
Fabulous.
wasn't the most special. Then I turned it so the Mitchell Hedges skull was facing me. Now, this is the part I do not know exactly how to describe it, but I'll do my best. Since I'm a writer and a public speaker, I think I'll be able to describe it good enough. So now what's happening to me is I'm picking up that there is a presence in the room. Now, some people have the gift where they can see spirit. For me, the only thing I see is flashing colored lights, which is very disappointing. But my higher self says, come on, Joshua, you had the gift of vision before so many freaking lifetimes.
You want it all though.
Right, you need to learn how to know what's there by feeling the energy. So I'm pretty damn good at that, excuse my French. So anyway, I'm picking up, let's see how I can describe it. So the Mitchell Hedges skull is pretty much square with me, facing me face to face. I'm still in the meditative pose. I'm still listening to this music. And what I'm feeling is I'm feeling myself being pulled behind the skull to my right, but high up in the room, like, near the ceiling. There is definitely some presence there. And the only way I can describe this, and I don't know if I've ever had contact with such a living consciousness, not in any crystal skull. This consciousness is not in the Mitchell Hedges skull. It was outside of it, but it was like a universal consciousness. Now, what we are accustomed to, just like what we're doing right now, I'm talking to 2 people, and I'm talking to Patricia and PK, and I know Joe's listening in the background there, our producer. So the thing is I'm having one-on-one conversation, but whatever this presence was, this was not an individual-like presence. This was universal, meaning, I don't know, group of souls, universes. I don't know what it was, but the key is that it knew everything about me, which could suggest I've thought about this. See, as an Aries, I always have to think of all the conceivable possibilities it might be. It could have been an extension of my higher self showing up, because actually the basic truth is there is only one being that exists throughout all the realities here. And I mean, we may look at each other and say, no, we're separate souls or beings, but ultimately we all reconnect. So it could have been some aspect of my higher self, but it definitely was something that wasn't from this reality, very powerful, and it knew everything about me. But the end result of having this contact was that it how can I say this? I calmed down. I somehow acquired that things don't bother me. See, Aries get upset if things don't go their way.
Oh, yeah.
This Aries right now is like, well, if it doesn't go my way, I'll try something else. And it's okay because that's not the right way to go. So it was kind of being in the neutral. So this is what this energy that was in the room. Now, I believe it appeared probably because of, number one, the Mitchell Hedges skull is there, and I'm sure it opens up many dimensions, and it travels in dimensions, this consciousness that works through it. But it could have also been interacting with my skulls, plus the music and what was happening to me. I became, very open. And one of the things excuse me, from the skull experiment, if any of you know what that's about, is for these higher spirit beings to appear, the energy and the location must be totally correct for them to be able to come up. So there must have been a lot of going on between the Mitchell Hedges skull, my skulls, what I'm doing, that this being appeared. But what it gave me is how to stay in the neutral, how to be in the neutral and just accept how people are. In other words, I might not agree with what somebody's doing, but I don't let it bother me because it's their free will, it's their choice. Of course, as an Aries, I would prefer that they say, you're right, this isn't this going well. What do you suggest?
Yeah, I want to do it your way. Yes, exactly. But that was a major shift that you experienced.
Yes, because I noticed.
Shift.
Right, because I noticed when I went to New York shortly thereafter, the energies of New York, which are very intense, it didn't bother me at all. I also noticed, too, when we've been struggling and we have to go into a line with people who don't have very much and you have to go to get food, their energy also is not bothering me. I mean, for Katrina, she's very sensitive. She can't be around that because they're very depressed and they feel hopeless. And so I go into that energy and I try to be the comedian and cheer everybody up. So I feel what the Mitchell Hedges skull did in this specific time is it really brought forth, I would say, more of my true essence, helped me to be more in balance. And that's good for me because I got too many projects going on at the same time. And I need to, be able to be focused, more grounded. I have no earth in my chart. So I have to ground myself through my projects and and find new adventures and challenges all the time.
What a great experience that you had with this skull and your own and your music. It's just phenomenal. And from what I understand and what you've read, what we've read and what you've written about, everybody has a different experience. So there's nothing that says that somebody else is going to come and sit in the presence of the skull and have a shift like that. It could be something totally different that happens to them.
Absolutely. And that's why it's unpredictable. So all you can do when you're preparing people or they're asking questions and say, be in the moment, be spontaneous, and just let the experience happen. Because these skulls, especially one like the Mitchell Hedges, immediately links into who you are and knows exactly what frequencies of energies to send back to you to help you with the next step of your life or your spiritual evolution.
And one of the things that I've come to understand about these skulls, and you have to tell me if this is true, they also link into your lineage, your genetic lineage. It's not just knowing about you in this lifetime, but it's like everything that's come before you. They have that ability.
Well, I would interpret it more, not lineage, would be past lives. In other words, what lifetimes you've lived in the past and what lifetimes you're going to be living in the future. It can link into that because you have to understand the crystal skull probably deal with no time and no space. And because there is really no time and no space, this is why we can link into every other lifetime we will ever have because it is happening in the simultaneous now. Like right now, I give this exercise as an example. I know I was a Civil War general, and I'm on Gettysburg, and I'm looking at the horror of what's happening to the soldiers there. And then I'm also the musician during the Renaissance time who plays in this church in Germany.
And it's all happening at the same moment. We are going to have to take a few moments and have a short break. And we're going to continue this conversation. We've got some great questions for you in the chat room. And I know, PK, you have questions, and we have to continue this fabulous conversation. We're learning so much, Joshua. So everybody, we will take a short break. Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK, and our terrific guest tonight, Joshua Shapiro. He is an expert on crystal skulls. And we have some great questions coming up from the chat room. Feel free to call in also. Our call-in number, if you want to ask a question of Joshua, is 888-919-2355. That is 888-919-2355. Or you can join us in the chat room. That is irnchat.com. irnchat.com. You can post your questions there, and we will ask them of Joshua on your behalf. So let's see, Joshua, we've got a great question here from Para Abnormal, who's asking, please ask Joshua why these crystals were made into the shape of a skull as opposed to any other body part.
Yes, that's always one of the questions somebody asks at our events. Well, let's look at it from the perspective. Why do we have a bone skull in our head? Every single human being has this bone skull in his head or her head. I speculate that the reason we have this bone skull, which would be the same for a crystal skull, is its shape. Just like a pyramid. You go down 1/3 of the way from the top point and it rejuvenates metal and activates DNA. The shape of that skull, I believe, is receptive to receive cosmic knowledge and information. That's how we receive it. And then what happens is it works its way through into our consciousness. So I believe because it's in the shape of a part of who we are, we have immediately a connection with this artifact. And also Marcel Vogel, who was a great person for developing all kinds of specialized crystals, he also came in contact with crystal skulls. And he said one time, which was quoted in our book by one of our contributors, Mystery of the Crystal Skulls Revealed. He said that bone and quartz crystal resonate vibrationally together with each other. So if you hold a piece of quartz crystal in your hand, it's going to resonate with your entire body. Similarly, based upon what he's saying, if you were to put a bone skull, which is also recording the essence of a person, next to a crystal skull, and that was a bone skull from a living person, the essence of that individual would probably flow into the crystal skull and its energy would be there. So this is part of the reason why I think the crystal skulls were made, is that they bring in higher knowledge and information. They are the ancient computers. As I told a group of people when I had a chance to speak at Microsoft one time, all these geniuses, they're working with the modern computers, but these crystal skulls were the ancient ones.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Well, here's another question. This is from John, who wants to know, are there any cultures in our history that viewed these skulls as taboo or even suggest possession of it could lead to something sinister?
Okay, this is another type of question that comes up, and I'll explain the reason why he's asking this. In modern culture today, if we see the image of a skull, it's usually associated with death and doom and evil. Now, this doesn't make any sense to me because it's saying out of our entire body, the only part that's evil is our skull. Now, I think where this comes from, and it could be connected with crystal skulls in the past, that, let's say, the Mayans or Mesoamerican people worked with, or maybe even in Atlantis as well, is they recognized these as power objects, and they wanted the people to be afraid of them, and that only they had control of them. So I think that this idea brought into the idea that, you should stay away from them. They're dark. There's something evil about them. Now, there is one facet about the crystal skulls that I have directly experienced, and that is they do not judge which energy they are going to absorb. So there is a possibility, let's say, during the time of Mayans or Aztecs, where they were doing human sacrifices, they would take crystal skulls and put it into the heart cavity of the individual. Now, what this would do is this would record man's inhumanity to man. And I've actually met some crystal skulls where it's had this kind of a dark energy, especially like in Mexico. There was one crystal skull I met, again, I thought I would be, really strong energetically, and apparently I wasn't strong enough at that point. So the crystal skulls amplify what happens in humanity. We can say, as we look at humanity, we have people who are angels and saints, who work for the betterment of people, who love everyone. And we have similarly, as we well know, other individuals who care nothing for anyone else, want to take everything they possibly can and treat people as if they are dirt. The crystal skulls will record those frequencies of energy. However, I believe ones like the Mitchell-Hedges skull, which is the most powerful one that I've met, they have programmed inside of them by the advanced cultures that work with them a system of protection which will not allow such dark energies ever to enter or to have them be misused. But this could happen with some of the more modern skulls. If it's with a guardian and that guardian's on drugs and doing all kinds of things, maybe a murderer or whatever, the worst things you can imagine, the skulls are going to pick up those frequencies of energy as well. But basically, I see that they were given to humanity as gifts long, long ago to help us in our spiritual evolution. I still believe that, and that's why when you talked about in the beginning of my introduction, they are here for world peace, I absolutely know that this is true, and they are part of the prophecies of various indigenous people, that they will assist in this process, which is ongoing now and picking up speed.
Wow, that's amazing.
That was a pretty good answer, huh?
Yeah, I thought
a very good one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I told you, being spontaneous helps.
It does. Well,
because it's got the big skull.
Can you give us a little bit of history on the Mitchell-Hedges skull? Just, I mean, I think we know a little bit about it, but tell our audience a little bit about that, because I'm getting texts about it right now. People want to know more about the origins of it.
Okay, so F.A. Mitchell-Hedges was a well-known archaeologist and explorer in the early 1900s. He probably was like an Indiana Jones person, if you will. And he was able to arrange support to go to Central America to do an expedition. And he believed that evidence of Atlantis could be found in these areas. Now, you have to understand, in the 1920s, when he went into the area of the Mayan, these were like, totally covered by vegetation. We didn't really understand who the Mayans were at this point. So he was granted permission by the British government to go into British Honduras, which is now Belize. He linked up with some of the local people, and what happened is they discovered a Mayan city that was buried by vegetation. They burned it, and there were huge structures there, but there was damage to the structure, so they think there was an earthquake. So, they start excavating. Then his adopted daughter, Anna Mitchell-Hedges, on her 17th birthday, said she, against her father's wishes, she climbed to the top of the tallest pyramid, and on her way down through a crack in the pyramid, sunlight was reflecting off something she felt was magical and important. So she told her father. He said, no, it's a piece of glass. She insisted. They got the local Mayan natives. They lifted the heavy stone in that area. She was skinny enough. They lowered her in. She went to what was reflecting the light, which was the top part, the cranium of this crystal skull, put it in her sweater, brought it out. Mayan natives went crazy. 6 weeks later, in an altar area, they found the lower jaw. The Mayan, Mitchell Hedges saw this was a sacred artifact to the Mayans, so he didn't have the heart to take it. They put it in a circle with fire around it, and according to the co-author of my first book, Mystery of the Crystal Skulls Revealed, Mr. Nasarino, natives came from everywhere when that skull came out. And he said, how did they hear about this so quickly when they had no telephone or fast communication at this time? In 1927, when the expedition ended, the head Mayan priest presented the crystal skull to Mitchell Hedges in gratitude for the food, medical supplies, and clothing. It has stayed in their family since that time, except there was one time he had a friend in the 1930s, a Mr. Burney. So this skull has also been known as the Burney skull. He needed a loan for another expedition. He gave the skull as collateral, and then in 44 he bought it back. So of course there's some people say the story I just told you is a fabrication. I follow what Anna Mitchell Hedges said and spoke about. The key thing is, although the story is fascinating and interesting, what is the most important is the energy around this crystal skull is unbelievable, life-changing, and it's not an easy task Mr. Holman has to be its guardian, because so many people want to see it and so many people would like to have it, and the skull has to be with the right person.
Gosh, well, that's amazing. Yes, because we've heard this from some of our guests, that this is a story that's not true or whatever, but really, who cares? I mean, you have a powerful object there that has the capability to affect energy over time and space. It's something to be reckoned with. It's so in terms of the story of how this actually came to be, it may not be that important.
Right, but the Mayans do recognize it, and they have requested for it to come back to them. And,
they have? Okay.
Oh, yes, they have. And Mr. Holman has felt that that's not what the skull needs. And I agree with him. The skull must be free, so whoever wants to see it has the opportunity. And that's what it wants. That's what I sense from the will of the consciousness in the skull. It wants to be here to help, to heal people, heal the planet, to be available to people, to be a catalyst to awaken them. So it has to be free to do that.
Yes. It's an entity. It's alive. I mean, and I love the way you talk about the crystal skulls, because you are talking about them not as inanimate objects, but as vessels of consciousness.
Exactly. And all my kids behind me are cheering when you just said that. They're going, yes, she gets it. Right on. That was probably the right on.
Good deal. Good deal.
Be quiet over there. I got to focus on these questions, please.
Now, when you go looking, because I've got some questions from folks about finding crystal skulls for themselves to work with, and they're a little concerned about, should they be on the lookout for black market crystal skulls that are not what they're supposed to be? How do you find a skull that is authentic for you?
It's easy. You contact us. Katrina and I are helping people find their crystal skulls all the time. Perfect. And actually what happens to Katrina, because she actually hears it as a voice, and I hear it in my mind's voice. Some of the skulls will say, hey, you need to contact this person we know, because I need to go with them. Oh. So the key really is, and I'm not saying they have to come to us, although we love to do this. And when I think about it, and it's hard to believe this, since I met Katrina in 2009, I'm willing to bet you that over 1,000 crystal skulls have come through us and gone to other people.
And the right people. That is so neat. Gosh,
right.
Now,
it's like one time we had friends in Canada, they gave us like 200 skulls, and I thought, we're never going to get rid of all of them. Every single one found the right person. There were ones in there I didn't like at all. I thought, that's ugly. Who's going to want it? But every single one found the right person. So, they're pretty amazing. But I would say the key is, if you're going to go to a crystal store and they have crystal skulls, and of course there are some that do that, or if you're going to buy them on eBay or, online, or we actually have a whole batch of new crystal skulls we just put up yesterday. So we'll let people know how they can see those before we end here. You have to go with your own feeling or intuition, and you can't make a mistake. Because even if you don't pick right, let's say you get one skull to start with, well, it's going to give you experience working with it. After you work with the first one, then you know how it works. I mean, I can describe experiences, but till you have your own or till you have a session with one, I can't tell you what's going to happen to you. Everybody's unique and different. But the one thing I do know is I would recommend to become a Crystal Skull Guardian. Then if you do that, of course, then you want to be part of our Crystal Skull World Peace Meditations, which we have on the 13th of every month, which means next Monday we'll be doing the next one. So that's one way we can help the planet. We all meditate together on the same day, not at the same time, but at the same hour. And we send out this very healing, loving energy. And we hear from people who participate that love just being a part of that.
That sounds beautiful. Now,
It does.
please give us your website so people know how to find you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a new website we just have had for about a year, and we did it because we wanted people to be able to see it on their mobile phones, and so many people are looking at things on their mobile phone. So what it is CSE, like Crystal Skull Explorer, but the letters CSE dot crystalskullexplorers.com. That's the main webpage. Now, I made a special page today for people because of things that I'm talking about. It's just if they go there and they go to the shop menu, they will see this UFO class that I'm going to be doing tomorrow and learn it live. There's a link for it if they would like to sign up. My challenge tomorrow is to give the absolute very best information about UFOs, to explain what has happened in the past, what the heck's going on now, and what's going to happen in the future. Because, of course, I'm a cosmic wanderer, so I know I'm connected with a lot of ET races, but that's another story. The other thing that they may want to look on that page is, of course, there are links for crystal skulls that we have, which Katrina, who's magical, has been activating them. So this last pages that we put up, we have some very inexpensive crystal skulls. Like if there are people out there who say, God, this sounds amazing. I don't have one. I'd like to get one. They don't have to start with an expensive one. They can go, with a fairly small one and start with that and go from there. So there's a link on that page too. Plus books are on there as well. Our latest book that I've released, which is a novel, believe it or not. I'm doing 2 novels now, but crystal skulls, of course, are involved in this novel.
Of course.
And that story is absolutely amazing what we're doing. I just have to say something about it because I really want this to be done in a movie. It's a story about a person. When the people read it, it'll say that's Joshua. He put himself in his own story.
Right.
Who is invited?
Why not? Right.
Yeah, why not? You know yourself the best. Who is invited to go to Peru. Because the story, it's a trilogy. The first book starts in Peru, but then goes back in time how this main character, Joseph Schwartz, JS, like my name, how he got there. But he is invited through certain circumstances that come up, clues, et cetera, where he has to go, et cetera, to go through a dimensional door. But the key to this story is it's not like I was Contact, the movie Contact, where Ellie, the main character, she goes in this craft that the extraterrestrials sent a blueprint to print, and she cannot prove that she actually went anywhere because physically they see the ship she's on just go right through these circling rings, and it looks like nothing happened. But she was gone for 16 hours. So our main character goes through this dimensional door in Peru. I know exactly where this door is because I think it really exists there. And then he comes back. And they give him something, and I don't want to tell too much of the story, where he's able to prove everything that happened to him is recorded. Can you imagine what would happen if somebody came back from such an experience and had the answer to every question we've ever asked about who we are, where do we come from, and what is life all about? That's what's going to happen to this guy. If such an individual did come back with this information and was able to totally prove it, it would create a catalyst that would wake people up and world peace would happen. So obviously that's what we're going to show in the 3rd book, how world peace happens because of what he brings back.
Wow, that's quite a story.
What is your website again, Josh?
Okay, so again, it's CSE dot Crystal Skull Explorers, plural, explorers.com. And of course, we have a lot more on there besides Shop. There's, a UFO disclosure story that I'm writing that I'm shared. There's blog posts from Katrina. The best articles that we posted over 30 years are there. Free ebook that we have, free newsletter they can get. And then I just put a link where they can see that this will be my 10th online class through this service. A lot about crystal skulls. This one will be the first one I focus on UFOs. Because this year, 2017, it's got to be the year of disclosure. Disclosure is already happening through the whistleblowers. All you have to do is go on YouTube and watch these videos, and there's no doubt whatsoever the extraterrestrials are here. They haven't left. It's not like ancient aliens where they left and came back. They stayed. They're walking amongst us. They're people who have incarnated as human beings who are extraterrestrials, and something big is going to happen. But that would take me into my coma experience, which I don't know if we have time for or not.
Oh, of course we do.
I'm wringing my hands. Yes.
Yes. I mean, this is of huge interest to our audience. UFOs, extraterrestrials. We've had numerous guests on that have said the same thing you have, that they're here among us as hybrids or full-blown extraterrestrials. Some of them look like us, some of them don't. But again, what we're seeing are more and more sightings. In fact, there was a story we posted on our Facebook page about a UFO chasing a jet in New Hampshire, and a gentleman got a video of it. It's on our Facebook page, everybody, so go take a look if you want to see it. And I've never seen a UFO chase a jet. It's the other way around. So it's funny.
Been quite an interesting time, that's for sure.
No, isn't that weird? So, yes, there is so much going on. And, we've often said there's no disclosure that's going to come from our government unless their hand is forced.
It is being.
It is. Okay, why do you think it's being forced? What do you think's going on?
Well, my feeling is, and I think this comes from this coma experience, which I haven't explained yet, is several groups of extraterrestrials have said to the governments, if you do not let people know what you know, which is vast, we will do something. And you can't stop us. So it's time to let people know. So they're in a no-win situation, because if they tell us, we've been lying to you since the 1930s, we've known about this since the 1930s, and nobody's going to believe what anything the government say anymore. And if they don't do it, then the extraterrestrials will do something. So I think it's a no-win situation. So maybe they might like a guy like me who's giving out this information, because I can't prove any of what I say. I don't have there's only one person I know who's a friend, but he had to sign the non-disclosure with the government. So the only things that he can tell me is what he's personally researched with UFOs. But he did make one comment. He said, everything that you see on television, in the movies, in the TV shows, in the science fiction books, it's all true, but it's even more intense than that. Much more. The technology is much more involved in that. So I think the reason why a lot of the whistleblowers are coming out now is because they're not getting rid of them. They're not threatening them because they're in a no-win situation. And so they say, well, we'll just let the information come out. We just won't support it. I think only Brazil and Belgium are the only two countries that actually shared publicly some of the recordings and things that they have. But you also have to remember, too, that not all the UFOs we see are extraterrestrials. Some of them are ours, which we back engineered.
Yes, exactly. Some of them are not from another planet. So, well, we've got to get more into this with you in the last half hour of the show, because, again, this is of huge interest to us and our audience. It's just a great topic. And we also want to know more about what is the connection between crystal skulls and extraterrestrials. So we have a lot of questions. Now, we have a question also from Daria, and see if we can answer this quickly before we go to break. She says, who or what does Joshua believe is behind these UFO appearances, and what type of spiritual energy do you believe may be driving them?
Well, there are groups who have their own agenda, which we would say are dark or negative or want to take advantage of the earth. They do exist. The government's made some agreements with them, I believe. We have neutrals who are fascinated that here on this planet we have 100 different cultures. How could they possibly live together? So we're an experiment from their point of view. And then we have those who love us, who are very spiritual, who I would say, I'll echo from this Venetian lady that I just saw on YouTube, who I forget her name, but she's in physical body. She said some extraterrestrials shut down our DNA so that we couldn't remember things. It's going to be reactivated. So that's
Yay.
what the positive ones are doing, and that's probably why the planet shot up to 36 on this.
Isn't that interesting?
Is to help us.
We're going to have to take a very short break again, everybody, but stay tuned. This is a fascinating conversation. You're listening to Supernatural Girlz Radio. Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I'm here with my co-host, PK, and our terrific guest tonight, Joshua Shapiro. He is an expert on crystal skulls. And now we are about to move into some even more exciting territory, the link between UFOs, ETs, crystal skulls, and what is coming. So please, Joshua, share with us whatever you want about your own UFO contacts along with the crystal skulls. What can you tell us?
Okay, well, first of all, I have not publicly shared this as much, but I have to do it for the class I'm doing tomorrow, so people understand why I have certain information or know things. One of the things that I know for sure has happened is some of the people who are listening to this program are not from this planet. Their soul is not from this planet. There have been different names given, like starseed, star people, crystal children, indigo children. So what this is all referring to is the level of the soul, more an advancement or coming from somewhere. And it doesn't really matter where the soul comes from. You still have to go through the incarnational pattern. But there is another group that exists, which I didn't call this. George Hunt Williamson is the first one who talked about them. It called Cosmic Wanderers. And what happened to me is when I was traveling through California on Faith, which was back in the early 1980s, I stayed with a friend who had a book by George Hunt Williamson, who actually is one of the most prolific UFO researchers that's been around. But his books came out in the 1950s. He disappeared in 1982. And then I read somebody said he passed away in 86. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But in his book, Other Tongues, Other Flesh, which either came out in 55 or 56, he said there's this group called the Wanderers who go from planet to planet, lifting them into the light. And so when I read that, I had an emotional reaction. Like sometimes around the Mitchell Hedges skull, unexpectedly, I'll have an emotional reaction. And that's when your inner self is truly expressing itself, when you're not even thinking about it. You're not trying to be a man and hold back the tears, but you have this, emotions that come through you. So that's what happened to me when I read his book back in the early 80s. So I know for a fact that I am a cosmic wanderer. The wanderers seem to be a jack of all trades, and they could be, he talked about they could be associated, and this is just, again, not to make one person more special than another, but Williamson said they could be linked to this concept of the 144,000 the Bible talks about as a group, that they've come to the earth. And when I meet someone else who's a wanderer, I see it in their eyes. Their eyes have the same kind of energy. Like when I look in the mirror at my eyes, I see that in these people. So I know that they're wanderers. So what happened to me when I moved to Las Vegas is I was minding my own business, just walking down a main street where cars were driving like 50 miles an hour. And all of a sudden I heard a loud screech behind me. And the next thing I know, my vision went from white to black, like a movie where it goes from white to black.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I lost consciousness. Now, this was a protection for me because after I was taken out of my body, this is what I think happened to me. A van struck me and I was taken to the hospital. And
Oh
they
my
had-
God.
And they had me strapped down on a bed when I came back. Okay. And I think they had me strapped down because there are wandering souls in the hospital. They said, there's nobody there. We're going to go into that body. So I think they were trying to manipulate my body while I was gone. Now, this had to be a prearranged experience, and there needed to be a cover where my body would be taken care of while I was gone, wherever I went to. So I do not have the total picture about what happened. So I'll just tell you what I think happened. And in other words, when I go back into it, you have to trust. When you're seeing something in your mind's eye, you have to trust that's what it is. You're not making it up. It appears automatically. That must be what it is. So what I believe happened is they took me out of my body, and I can see myself attending a meeting. The closest I can come to describing this meeting would be like the first movie of Star Wars, not the first one that came out, but number one in the series, where Princess Amidala goes to this big meeting where there are beings from all over the universe and the chancellor's talking to them. I felt like I was in a meeting like that. And what they were doing at this meeting is they were talking about what was going to happen in the future to the Earth. So this is back in, late 1990. This is in 1990 that this is happening to me. So I think that I was asked to come because they needed feedback from somebody who was in a physical body. If we try this plan, how will people respond? If we try that plan, how will people respond? Because it's a very difficult process to bring spiritual evolution to this planet when you have so many different people, so many different ideas about religion and spirituality. And also the governments of the planet are totally closing down all possibilities that there can be other forms of life that exist, throughout the universe, which has to be. Creator is not going to say, I only want planet Earth to have living beings and the rest, forget it. There's no way that Creator is going to do that. The Creator that I understand says, I want to experience every conceivable possibility that there is. Therefore, there has to be every type of form of life, whether it's in the physical or higher dimensions, that's possible. So, and plus the fact, if you really study, the stories, the case history, if you watch these videos that are on YouTube that people are taking, because think about this, in today, 2017, we probably have like 1 billion reporters who are running around on this planet with their little mobile phones, that if they see something strange, they're going to start recording it. So this cannot be held back. So anyway, at this meeting, I think they were discussing what will be the best way to help the people of planet Earth to go through a spiritual evolution that will cause the least panic and fear. So that's what they were talking about. So now the reason I bring this up is because I believe, as I went crazy last year, it's like I had this mad compulsion. Start watching YouTube videos. Who's talking to me? Who's telling me? Just trust us. Do this. There's some important stuff there you got to see. So I start watching it, and it's almost like I think what happened is what I saw there, now I'm seeing happening here. So I know which things are probably close to being correct. Okay. So I have a really, and then in the story that I've written on my website that I gave out, which is called The Disclosure Chronicles, I was impressed to write a story where UFO disclosure happens, but not the way we think it's going to happen. Okay, so I've written the story up to the point, to the day that's celebrated. Well, what happens in the story is this man that lives around here by Mount Rainier in the Seattle area, he starts receiving a video of a future talk that's going to be given in 2077. And it's given by the grandson of the individual who was connected to what they call Disclosure Day, where, things started to happen on this day where disclosure was happening. So this guy is seeing this lecture and he's hearing the total history of the Earth and how we're connected to extraterrestrials and the whole thing. So
now, let me just stop for 1 second. I just have a question for you, Joshua. With your experience, with you obviously were thrown out of your body by this van crashing into you,
Yes.
and you come back to your body. Did you have full memory of all the things you're telling us now, or did that
No.
come back to you in pieces?
Came back in pieces. The only thing I remember when I came back is a nurse said, "Do you remember the truck that hit you?" And I went, "What the heck is this woman talking about?" Because see, I didn't experience any pain whatsoever of
How
being
lucky.
hit.
Wow.
Okay, now when I did come back, I had a bad sprain on my ankle and my neck was sore, and I wasn't fully grounded, I would say. You know, I needed some of my local friends there to kind of help give me some energy and so on. But I didn't understand what had happened to me. It was very strange, probably the most strange experience that I've ever had. And I've had a lot of strange experiences. But
Yeah, you have. But you
No.
were from behind, because you said you heard the screech of
but
tires, the rubber on the road, and
Oh,
then all
yeah.
of a sudden black. So, yeah.
right, and I didn't bother to turn around because I said I'm protected. Like I
Yeah.
remember another time when I worked in Berkeley, I'm eating at a fast food place, and somebody threw the metal napkin holder through the window, and it just missed me. You know,
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
so I always feel like I'm protected.
I guess you are. Gee.
Uh-huh.
Right, but now there's one other thing that I bring back from that experience. Besides putting this in my novel, of course, the kind of this experience is explained in the novel too.
Mhm.
And that is the sensing that how could I phrase it? That our galactic family, which covers everything, it's the beings who live here that we don't know about, Hollow Earth, Inner Earth, Sasquatch, the extraterrestrials who love us in other dimensions, in this dimension, all these people. My sensing is there's something coming up and they're going to do something that cannot be disproven. And it's for the purpose of acting as a catalyst. So in other words, they've tried crop circles where they put their messages in there, you know, like that crop circle has a picture of what they look like. And then that, I guess that satellite that got sent out with binary code about who we are, then in the crop circle was binary code who they were, that matched it perfectly, except there were differences, of course. So, you know, we have all these incredible things going on, and sometimes I laugh because it's almost ridiculous. We're living in two worlds here. We have one world of people who's the physical 9-to-5 job. They don't want to see any of this stuff. I've seen UFOs in clouds. It's obvious what it is, but people are walking and they don't notice nothing. And then there's the people who are on their spiritual path who are, you know, having their experiences, seeing things in the sky, having communication telepathically from their guides, from extraterrestrials, whatever. So I think one of you said in the beginning, there is going to be something that's going to break into our reality.
Mhm.
And that's what this meeting was about. Now, the problem is, I think, you know, 2013, it's going to happen then. It didn't happen. 2014, you can ask Katrina. Every year, Joshua says, this thing is going to
It's
happen.
gonna happen.
And she's telling me, no, it's still going to be a little while. But okay, she says it's happening now. But I'm talking about, from the Aries perspective, that big event that cannot be denied. That is so real, shakes people up, not like us because we're ready for it, we're expecting it. But let's say the average person, you know, it's going to start to shake them up. So that was the sensing I brought back from the meeting, is that they're going to do something. Now, I don't know if, you know, an extraterrestrial will do like in that movie that came out the day the Earth stood still, where they'll just land and everybody can see them, or if Sasquatch will do something, or of course we have the ability for the people that live in the inside of the Earth, which they call the Hollow Earth. They have their own spacecraft, of course. They might do something. There are underground cities from descendants of Lemuria, probably Atlantis. They might do something. And then, of course, you have his last name is Corey Good, right? It's talking about the secret space program, where, you know, we are having daily contact with all different races. I've heard different estimations, you know, anywhere from 50 different races to over 100 different races that we've had contact with. So something has to break through. You can't have these two different realities coexisting where one set of people are totally oblivious to it and the other set are having experiences. Eventually, they have to come together. So
yes, I think that's true. And also because I think it's inhibiting our spiritual development when we have to consistently fight against the mainstream, lamestream media that makes fun of people, who ridicules people like you, like us, that have had powerful experiences with extraterrestrials. And, you're fighting against the tide with these people. And so, I have to say, I really love the fact that they're being exposed for who they really are and what their agenda really is, because they're very much a part of the problem here. Mm-hmm. It's not just our government, but you really have a hard time getting a UFO story told on television, even if you have all the documentation. And
it's fear. It's just fear.
Right. So that's what you're doing.
Agenda. Their agenda.
Right. Yeah. So that's why you have your radio show. That's why we had our radio shows, our website. Sometimes I've had a chance to be on documentaries. So, enough people are having experience with this that it no longer can be hidden. And again, since people have their mobile phones, they're seeing these things going on. And they're recording it, and it's going on the internet. And I think it's being allowed because it can no longer be stopped. It's very obvious that we are not alone, but the main question is, where are we headed towards with this? And I think the people in power recognize that as soon as this comes out, the world as we know it will be totally changed. And I also have a communication, and this also is kind of a strange experience, from my future self called Arjas, who exists, 2050 or whatever, in our future, because since there is no time, we can't speak to a future self we have in this lifetime. And he says, absolutely, you are headed toward world peace. This cannot be stopped. And also, it is important because all the other planets in our solar system are also evolving, and the Earth cannot hold this back. So,
that's very good news, because there's been a lot of gloom and doom about, nuclear war, and that's coming from North Korea or some other.
Right. But remember this about these nuclear weapons. Harmonics 33, I forget the name of the author who wrote that book. They cannot detonate a nuclear bomb wherever they want. It can only be done at certain places on the Earth at certain times. And all the major countries who have these nuclear weapons know exactly where these locations are. And the other thing to consider is that the people that live in the hollow earth and under the ground, this is their home too. They could step forward and do something. They did send a warning through Admiral Byrd, who visited at the North Pole with them, who brought back a warning to stop dealing with the nuclear devices. So just knowing that they're also there besides the extraterrestrials who are watching us, because consider this, if we were to self-destruct our planet through nuclear war, totally blow the thing up, it is going to affect the orbit of the other planets. Plus also, of course, we now know that we are in a binary star system, which would then affect the planets in the other solar system of these two suns, ours and the other one called Nemesis, which is a dark star. So I do not believe from the highest source that they're going to allow the planet to be destroyed. However, they have to be careful because of free will, just like we saw in Star Trek, their law that they had, that we still have to have our freedom to have our experiences here. But I do not believe
they don't want to interfere. I understand. But I've also heard from somebody I know on the inside of these alphabet agencies that they know all about these things, these alphabet agencies. And they also said that the people who live underground, the extraterrestrials who live down underneath, they don't want anything to do with us.
Yes, that's true.
I can see why. I understand.
Well, because we're still in a warlike state. And when the UFOs start showing up in the 40s and 50s, what do? We try to fire on them and bring them down. What do we do when there was the crash at Roswell? That ship's now at Area 51, I understand. They dissected it. Many, according to Corso, many of the technologies we have today, including our computers, came from back engineering what they found on that ship. So,
Yes.
So in effect, extraterrestrials, if we were to summarize it, they have affected every aspect of life here on Earth, directly or indirectly, including how we look and appear today. They changed our genetic codes. So,
yes, that's true.
So it's all coming out, but it will come out. Now, what stance any of the governments, the main governments, will take on it, there's speculation they'll only share part of it. What's his name? The guy that works with Corey Good, I can't remember his name. This other Wilcox says that something about he's saying something about Antarctica is going to come up soon. They've already found advanced cities buried there. The Nazis went there. They were given from, I think it was the constellation of Aldebaran, which their Aryan genetics came from. They were given all their advanced technology. They have their own UFOs. I heard from one guy who knew the German scientist from Paperclip. I think he was a young boy when that happened. Now he's 80s. He said the flyover by Washington of several UFOs in 52, that was their UFOs. And that Admiral Byrd went down to the South Pole where they were based with a huge armada and was totally and utterly defeated.
Yeah, he came back pretty quick, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very fast. So
yes,
all this information is coming out right now. And, I think from a perspective as an individual who's chosen to be in body here at this time, it could be a very exciting time to be alive, because the transformation about to happen to this planet is going to be amazing and incredible. But of course, anytime you go from a darker state to a lighter state, there has to be, challenges and changes which happen through Mother Earth, through her earth changes, as well as from a sociological and political perspective. But I don't know, this just seems to be a key year. Something is about to break, and I don't know what it's going to be exactly, but when it happens, we'll all recognize it. We'll be cheering. We'll be saying, now it's finally happening, and all this stuff, telling people, they're going to start believing us. They're going to seek people like us out and say, what the heck is going on? You've been talking about this for a long time. Explain it to me.
Well, this is great news because, it's very hopeful what you're sharing with us tonight. It gives us all a sense of hope that we're not going to blow ourselves up, but there is a different path, that we will be on it, and it will be a good consciousness shift for everybody. And then, again, the people that want to experience a consciousness shift with crystal skulls, they can contact you and Katrina. And I know you travel around the world with your skulls, but can you also work with people with the skulls on Skype, or do they have to be present?
Yeah, we do that. We do sessions on Skype for people, and we've had very good results. Again, my ability to link into energy, I can do it through the internet. And Katrina is very good as well. So we give two different perspectives. And then, of course, the crystal skulls just help us with the energy. And so that works as well. We didn't get a chance to talk about the link between UFOs and crystal skulls, and we only have a few minutes. So what I will say is they brought them here, and they have the ability to work through the skulls here to observe what's going on around them and to send energy through them, and also to be the consciousness that you meet. So this was a key tool. Why not bring something to humanity that looks like humanity?
Yeah, that certainly makes some sense. Yes. Ooh. Gosh.
It gives you chills when you think about it.
It does. And now you have a class that you're offering, and it's very inexpensive. It sounds like it's going to be a great class. And as you mentioned, if you can't make it live, you can pay for the class, and then you can watch it in your own time frame. And again, you can find all of the sign-up information on your website, right? CSC, Crystal Skull Explorers. crystalskullexplorers.com. Again, that's cse.crystalskullexplorers.com. You can feel free to contact Joshua and Katrina and help you find your own crystal skull, as well as sign up for their class and find out what other exciting things they're up to. They might be coming to a town or city near you with their collection. So we highly recommend that you make contact with Joshua and Katrina. If you're interested in crystal skulls, these are the people right here. So, oh my goodness!
Go to the shop menu in order to find the link for the classes.
Oh, great!
Okay, that's where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I've been lazy. I didn't put it on that website where it should go, so I threw it on the shop page so that they have a place. But Learn It Live. The other link would be learnitlive.com/Crystal Skull Explorers 2 will take you there.
Okay,
So
terrific.
Fabulous.
Well, Joshua, thank you so much for coming on the show with us. It's been delightful and very informative. I've learned so much. I know you have too, PK. This is great.
Definitely.
Yes. Well, we're leaving on a high note tonight. So next week, everybody, we'll be back with a new show. We've got Paul Eno. We're talking about all things weird and wonderful. Until then, we'll see you on the highway. Good night.
Good night.